Welcome back to Talking Lamar, and in today's episode, we are talking about Christopher Nolan's movie, Oppenheimer.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Sorry, I forgot what I was talking about.
What are you talking about?
I am talking to you.
That's just what I was talking about.
It's Talking Lamar.
All I can say is, wow, what a movie. You know, at first thought, a movie about the history of what could be described as the nerd of all nerds and how he became the father of the atom bomb sounds a little bit like a snooze fest. And the fact that it's 3 hours long, not sure that's the movie for me. But boy, could I not have been more wrong. Yes, Robert Oppenheimer is the king of nerds, but he's also as far away from being a nerd as you can get. His skill set was endless. This guy spoke and read over 6 languages: Greek, Latin, French, German, Dutch, and Sanskrit. Come on. Who does this? Bob, do you know Sanskrit? I mean, are you pretty good on Sanskrit?
That's the one that maybe I should have taken that in middle school. Maybe I would have been good at that, but no.
Instead of French,
yeah.
But I mean, his mind was just, it seemed like it was limitless. But on the flip side, he had another talent, and that was making martinis. His martini had a special recipe. He has 4 ounces of gin and a splash of vermouth. But what distinguishes that creation is he adds this unexpected touch. The rim of the chilled glass was carefully dipped in a mixture of honey and lime juice. Now, you know I'm on this. I got to try this. Sheri,
yeah.
Doesn't that sound awesome?
It does.
Lamar, I watched him making those drinks, and I was like, "What is he spinning that rim in? It's a martini.
So glad
what
I was
in
able,
the world?"
Yes.
I'm so glad you looked it up.
Yes. Here's a couple of things about him. When he was 12 years old, Oppenheimer, he was invited to give a lecture on geology, because even at 12, he was studying rocks and he was writing papers, and he was sending them in to the geology research place or whatever. So they're thinking, this guy knows what he's doing. They don't know he's 12. They send him an invitation to come speak to one of their big meetings. And so his dad knew what the deal was, but he thought, this would be funny. So they take him to give the speech. When he gets there, he walks out on the stage. He's 12 years old. Everybody starts laughing. They have to set a crate in front of the thing so he could stand up and speak. And at the end of his speech, they stood and gave him a standing ovation. They made him the youngest member ever at 15. I mean, this is 12 years old. And he is talking to geologists who've been studying this stuff for years, and they're amazed at him. I mean, I don't know.
You have to give it up to the geologists who were in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
Showing such reverence to somebody who's 12 years old, you know?
Yes.
That's what they knew.
You know, when he was going through the chemistry and stuff in college, the lab work was tedious to him. He hated it. I mean, he dreaded going to the lab because he didn't like mixing stuff and doing all that kind of stuff. And he wound up talking to the director of the Institute of Theoretical Physics at this big university in Germany. And he said, hey, quit doing the labs. If all you need to do is think and do this in your mind, that's what you need to do. And that's what he did. He would come up with those unbelievable things in his mind, and he would write it down, and he would find other people that could make it happen. And out of nowhere, he decides that when a star blows up, it blows up into itself, takes all the oxygen out of the air, and becomes a black hole. Never seen one. And how long? I mean, this is in the 40s, okay? We didn't even start talking about black holes for real until what, 20 years ago? 20s? I don't know.
Yeah, and certainly not in the 40s.
Yeah. And when they started talking to him about the bomb situation, he automatically in his head, and he told them, you're going to have to build a town, and it's got to have everything you need so that the best minds will come there because they can bring their families and they can live there, because otherwise they're not coming because they're going to be out in the middle of nowhere for an extended period of time. So they built an entire town out there, and he ran the whole deal. I just
Did you
he was
get the
amazing.
feeling? Did you get the feeling that let's say he didn't exist, but we knew we had to build this horrifying bomb because Hitler, you know, was working on it. Did you get the feeling that if he was not part of it, we would not have won? Or did you get the feeling there were so many brilliant men and women
Can I jump
there?
in, Lamar?
Yes.
There was a possibility, and this is true. This is the actual science. There was a possibility that if they didn't get this exactly right, they would cause the entire planet's atmosphere to ignite,
Yes.
and Earth would be burned to a crisp. So I think that the risk wasn't would the Nazis win. The risk was would there
Would
ever
we
be a
lose?
people's movie critic? Would we be sitting here? Let's break, and we'll be back with more Talking Lamar.
That was one of my favorite parts in the movie when Matt Damon's character heard him talking about the odds. He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, there's a slight chance that when we set this bomb off, it could catch the atmosphere on fire, and that fire would circle the Earth and burn up everything on the planet." And he goes, "What's the odds on that?" He goes, "Well, it's very, very small." He says,
It's not zero.
"But it's not zero." And he said, "I want to hear you say zero." And he says, "We won't know for another couple of hours." So, his life is full of wonderful things and accomplishments, and it's also full of tragedy because he felt bad after this happened, and then he got treated bad by the political machine. He was nominated for a Nobel Prize 3 times and never got it. 18 people who worked with Oppenheimer at Los Alamos, they won Nobel Prizes on their lifetime. They could put that on their resume. They won them, okay? But he himself, 3 nominations, no wins. So in 1963, he did get to take home the prestigious Enrico Fermi Award, which is recognition for his especially meritorious contribution to the development, use, and control of atomic energy, otherwise known as the Miss Congeniality Award. That's what he got. I mean, he got nothing. Because who knows about this Enrico Award? We all know what the Nobel Prize is.
Yeah,
The Nobel Prize got started with a guy with dynamite. You could say the dynamite guy stirred all this up. I mean, I don't know. It all started with dynamite, but I felt bad for him on that. I really did. But, I don't know.
It was one of those. It was one of those things where you were watching it and you felt sick because they were going to get that weapon one way or the other,
No matter what.
no matter what. And there were plenty of scientists with plenty of ego and desire to be in the game, right? So it was always going to be that somebody was hung out to dry, and it unfortunately was Robert Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But you watch this. The phrase that comes to mind here, watching this movie, was sick inevitability. It was all inevitable, and it all made you sick watching it.
Yeah.
Sick
I
with
thought his
dread, sick with fear, just sick, right?
I thought his personal life did not match his. This goes to show you a man this smart, absolutely 100% great genius. His personal life, he got hooked up with this Jean Tatlock, who's played by Florence Pugh. She does a great job. And actually, her picture and the original Jean, they look pretty dang close. And he gets introduced to her, and they have this big relationship. It's a very deep, it's an intellectual relationship, it's an emotional bond, it's a sexual bond. And so he tries to propose marriage to her twice, and she will not do it. So after she turns down both proposals, he marries Kitty. But he continues, he had this thing for her. I mean, he continued to see her from time to time. And at one point, when he's out here making the bomb, there's a phone call for him from her. He drives back to her house. They spend time together. And when he leaves, he says, "This is it. I cannot answer your calls again." And she committed suicide.
Or did she?
Wow.
Or did she?
That's the question. Who knows?
Or did she?
Because the government FBI was following him to her place. I mean,
And she was
she
a
was
known
communist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen. Not only was there a lot of controversy about in real life about whether or not she actually committed suicide, in the movie, Kevin said he swore he saw a reflection of like men's black shoes in the scene. Just so subtle, it went by so fast. Did you see that?
If I didn't see the shoes, but if you watch how she committed suicide, I think that's impossible. I don't think you can force yourself to stay under the water. You cannot make yourself
exactly.
I don't think. Somebody's got to hold you down. You can't do that.
I don't think anyone involved in this movie or this conversation thought that was a legitimate suicide. She was murdered to keep her quiet and to keep her away from Oppenheimer, because she was not only was she a distraction for their boy wonder scientist, she was a communist at a time when there could be nothing.
And that was
worse,
that whole
right?
McCarthy. Oh, yeah, that was not the time.
Terrible era. Yeah, terrible era.
On a lighter note, I don't know if y'all know this, Matt Damon, and I remember reading this a few months ago, he took a break from acting because he made a promise to his wife, spend more time with her kids, and he would not take any more roles. There was one condition, the only role he would take, and he said this sort of as a joke, that if Christopher Nolan called, and she goes, oh yeah, if Christopher Nolan calls, you go ahead. Because who would have ever thought that he was calling? He called, he said, can I go? And she said, better go. And that's how he got into the movie. He sure did.
Great.
Sure did.
Yeah.
So it was
He was terrific. He was terrific. But man, Robert Downey Jr., what a baddie. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Matt Damon does not pick very many loser movies, does he?
No.
I mean, he was good with the Nike movie and the Ferrari versus Ford movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, he does. I mean,
you know what else was kind of hard to reconcile watching the Oppenheimer movie? Like part of being an adult is the realization that everything is dirty. Everything. But the degree to which everything is dirty really hits you like a punch in the gut with this movie.
It does. It just does.
And
once the odds are once it's against you, that machine will not let you out. I thought Emily Blunt did a great job as his wife, and I thought she did a great job when she sat in front of that committee.
Oh, she was that was a tour de force. Speaking of taking a step back from acting, she's taking a step back now because her daughters have hit the age where she feels like she needs to be home. So she'll be backing up. The thing, and I don't want to. I'm almost hesitant to say this because I don't want to risk a spoiler, but we were talking about how everyone's dirty and you see it. One of the other things that Christopher Nolan shows you in this movie is what happens when someone who knows it's all dirty and is himself the chief thrower of the dirt, and he thinks that because he's so cunning and strategic and because it's his hand throwing the mud, it never occurs to him it could come back, and then it does.
Yes.
And that's all I'll say because I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Yes. Well, on that note, we're going to slide on out of here. I'll say this. Maybe we all learned some stuff. Maybe we didn't. But we really had a great time. Hope y'all did too. If you did, join us for our next Talking Lamar. If you didn't, don't give up. You might love the next episode. Don't quit trying. Don't be a quitter. Yeah, you wouldn't want to miss that one. Come on. Thanks for listening. Y'all have a great, great day.